right. We'll call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. Right, first up on the consent agenda, we have the minutes from the council meeting from August 19th of 2025, street committee meeting from August 18th, telecom commission from July 21st and August 18th of 2025. We also have an exempt gambling permit from the Des Moines Valley chapter Minnesota Deer Hunter Association. Looks like a raffle for that one. That will be February 26th of 2026, and the regular bills. And if anyone would like to change anything, have any additions, any questions, if not, we'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Ooh, who got that second? Jenny makes the motion, Jason second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, department heads. Welcome, John from the liquor store.
John Nelson, liquor store manager. Wanted to cover two things here during this department head portion. First off, I'd like to thank Mayor Matthias. She came to the liquor store last Friday for 2 hours and did carry out, interacted with the customers. Seemed like she had a lot of fun and the customers had a lot of fun with it. So I think it's something we're gonna try to move on and see if we can do more often. That was something that came to me, another municipal liquor store up in northern Minnesota. When there's new council members, they kind of bring council members in to kind of see what the store is about. And so they bring them in for time for carry out and things like that and see how busy the store is, and I think it was really cool. So if anyone's interested in doing that again, connect with me and we'd love to have you down and do some carry out. So
Be interesting to know how many pounds did you carry out?
Enough that I wore the wrong shoes for that because my feet hurt at the end of that, but it was so fun. I'm so glad you asked me to do that. It really was neat to see all the people in there and to hear their reactions. Like, some people were like, what? I got this. There's like burly guys in there and I just loved their case of beer, but it was fun. Thank you for asking. If he asked you guys, I hope you take him up on it. It was really neat just to visit with the people.
and even seeing the, I think one of Hillary's first clients that she carried out for was coming from Wisconsin to Sioux Falls for a softball tournament out in Sioux Falls. So they were traveling over 5.5 hours and ended up stopping at our store on the way through. So really cool to see those things. So the second thing is this Saturday at the liquor store. We're going to celebrate National Bourbon Heritage Month. So what that is we are kind of turning it in, took an idea from Mound Liquor Store, what they've done in the past, and we're making it a fundraiser for the fire department as well. Over time we received numerous rare allocated bottles of bourbon. So to celebrate National Bourbon Heritage Month, we are going to do a bourbon tasting in store from 11 to 1. And then at 1:10, we are going to be doing a rare allocated bourbon opportunity to purchase drawing. So what that is people that come to our store for the tasting, they're going to get a free registration ticket into the drawing. We're also going to have the fire department down at the store, and they're going to be collecting $5 donations, which will in turn get people that choose to do that additional registrations into the drawing. And then from there at 1:10 we'll draw tickets, and the people whose tickets are drawn will get to choose some of the rare bottles of bourbon that a lot of people hunt for. So I've had good response so far throughout our Facebook advertising, and it could be a pretty busy day down there, so should be a lot of fun.
Thank you, John. Are there any other department heads that want to speak at this time? Okay, next up is John Pearl, the CFO at the Windom Area Hospital. And John and Ryan Strutz, who will come on Zoom from Clifton Larson Allen, as the auditor, will present the Windom Area Hospital 2025 audit.
Yeah. There he is. Very good. Well, thank you for having us here tonight. I'm John Pearl. I'm the CFO of the hospital. Ryan Struess is online. He is a principal at Clifton Larson Allen, and they did our audit this year. So he presented to the governing board of the hospital last Monday. And he's going to give essentially the same presentation that he presented there. And then both Ryan and myself would be available for questions if you have anything after the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Ryan.
Well, I know I've got it here, just, nope. Gotta get some of these tabs off my screen. Okay. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Well, appreciate the time this evening. As I said, and as John mentioned, my name is Ryan Struess. I'm a principal at Clifton Larson Allen. Work primarily or exclusively in the healthcare industry with a lot of rural hospitals and rural PPS hospitals, critical access hospitals, et cetera. So as I run through the presentation this evening, if you have any questions as it relates to the audit itself or just anything within the industry, happy to stop and give you a chance to answer or ask so I can answer any of the questions that you may have. So if we start, Steve, by going to the fourth slide here, the results of professional services. Overall, when we worked through the audit from a timing perspective, just to give you an idea, started working through the audit about the third week of June, and then we wrapped things up about middle of the month. We actually issued the audit last week, so everything was finalized. From a significant transaction perspective, there's the medical office building construction project that's ongoing. Did some additional testing related to that, and then the related financing for that project, as you're aware of. So overall, about 17.7 million of additions went into that construction project during the fiscal year 2025, and then there's about 12.5 million of debt that was kind of drawn on during the fiscal year, and I know that there's still some draws for that, in the next fiscal year, fiscal 2026. From an audit adjustment perspective, no material audit adjustments. So there was some adjustments that we worked with John on as a part of the audit, consistent with what we've done in the past. We help with, we have the para, we audit the para numbers. So we helped John with that. We updated some of the leases and whatnot, but no correction of errors that were discovered as a part of the audit. I think that's important to mention. There's a lot of decisions that get made throughout the year, and being able to rely on the numbers that you have in the interim is important. So not waiting for us to come in at the end of the year and provide a laundry list of adjustments, I think is something to celebrate. So job well done there. From a subsequent event perspective, nothing to report on that we were aware of when we issued the audit through the report date. And then from an internal control summary here, material weakness is control over the financial reporting process. So we assist with the financial, with creating the financial statements. Management ultimately reviews and accepts responsibility of those financial statements, but as the independent auditors, we're helping adopt and implement new standards, et cetera. Management has the capabilities to do so, but from an efficiency perspective, it's more efficient for us to do it. So that's where that comment comes from, and that's consistent with what we had in the past. If we go to the 2 slides down, next one, industry benchmark data. Consistent with what we've reported on in the past, we did include some industry benchmark data just to give you an idea from a financial perspective how the organization's doing. So we have Windom Area Health, as noted by the blue indicator, that's from 2022 to 2025. And then we have CLA clients with patient service revenue less than 50 million through 24. And then gold standard facilities, which is the top 35 critical access hospitals in the country through 2024. Last but not least, all Minnesota critical access hospitals from the gold standard report through 2024. So if we flip through to the next slide, the first ratio that's included is operating margin, which takes your percentage of net patient service revenue plus total operating revenue over kind of your expenses or your net operating income. Overall, you finished the 2025 fiscal year, or the hospital finished the 2025 fiscal year with about $2.4 million of income from operations, which represents a 4.7% operating margin. Compare that with a 3.4% operating margin in 2024. And when you look at the comparisons, although the gold standard is much higher at 19% for 2024, again, that's the top 35 performing facilities. When we look at Minnesota critical access hospitals, and then also CLA clients with over 50 or less than 50 million of patient service revenue, you can see that the hospital is hanging in there very nicely, slightly above those comparisons for 2024, 2025, and all the way back to 2022. Total margin, this adds back in any of your non-operating income, so or expense. So for the hospital, that's your investment income. You had about $673,000 of investment income, and then you have your grants, non-capital grants and contributions, and then interest expense. So 7.3% in 2025 compared to 7.1% in 2024, and then 5.3% in 2023. Very healthy there. There was a little bit of a dip in your investment income. Interest rates went down a little bit, as you're aware, for the fiscal year 2025 end. So that's really why there's a little bit less of a difference between 2024 and 2025 on the total margin compared to the operating margin. Operating EBITDA. What operating EBITDA is trying to measure is what's your rough cash flow from operations. So it's basically taking your operating income and then it's adding back in interest, depreciation, and amortization. So overall, finished the year 2025 with 12%. You can see up a little bit from 11.3% in 2024. You can see where the comparisons fall anywhere from 22% for gold standard down to about 5.8% from our client base. Just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea from a numbers perspective, what that means, the 12%. So we're taking your income of about 2.4 million and adding back in 2 million of depreciation, 425,000 of interest. And really, when we look at the cash flow statement on the actual face of the financial statements, you'll see that you generated about 6.5 million of cash from operations on your cash flow statements. And that'll make a little more sense when we look at your days cash on hand in a few slides. So next slide, days cash on hand. You can see 2024 to 2025, you had 257 days cash on hand compared to about 245. You can see 378 at the end of 2023. So you've spent a fair amount of capital or cash on the MOB project. And really, when we look at where you're sitting at the end of 2025 from an overall cash and investment perspective. You have 19.6 million of cash and investments. You had 18.5 million at the end of 2024. The days go down because the denominator is your average daily cash expenses. So your expenses went up a little bit in 2025 overall, like your revenue did. So that's why the days dipped a little bit, even though your actual investment and cash balance went down. So yeah, I think, as we look at it, to be able to have a fairly strong cash position in the midst of a construction project, and I know some debt was issued for that, I still think is something that's notable. Net days and accounts receivable, significant progress made in 2025. As you may recall, in our discussion last year for 2024, you had 80 days in net accounts receivable. There was a little bit of a collection issue with the Change Healthcare incident that happened back in early 2024, which is why your AR, you couldn't collect AR for quite a while, which is why your AR bumped from 54 up to 80, back down to around 50 this year. So if you look where you've been 2022 and 2023, sitting in that 53, 54 range, really was an opportunity for the organization even before the Change Healthcare stuff in 2024 to make some improvements. But to be down back in the right at that 50 range, although some of the comparisons are around that 45, you definitely have made some progress in that area, which is why your days, partially why your days cash on hand sits in a fairly strong position in the midst of a construction project, because you had about 6.3 million of AR last year. You collected quite a bit of that, and now you have 4.4 million at the end of 2025. So that's $2 million that was picked up off the balance sheet in cash from 2024 to 2025. Accounts receivable by payer over 90 days. So we're really interested when we're trying to value AR. As I mentioned on the last slide, you had about 4.4 million of net accounts receivable. That's the organization's largest estimate on the balance sheet, or the statement of net position rather. So we're interested in how old the AR is. We know once it gets older, it's much harder to collect. So as we're assessing and coming up with our own independent estimate for accounts receivable, we look at and we sample AR over 90 days and AR over a certain dollar threshold, just to get an idea of if there's anything that needs to be allowed for separately that is uncollectible because it's really old. So when we look at the light blue, or kind of the teal colored here, we can see that Medicare last year was 11% down to 2% over 90 days this year. Medicaid held steady, 22 to 23% this year. Self-pay went down 10% to 45% of AR, self-pay AR. And then your other, which is kind of your commercial and other payer bucket, went from 20 to 13%. So when we aggregate that, overall, your AR that was over 90 days was 14% at the end of 2025, your fiscal 2025, compared to 17% last year. And you can see where the CLA clients fit in. Almost a quarter of the total AR is over 90 days for most of our clients. So you do a nice job. The organization does a nice job of making sure they're collecting their AR timely and avoiding some of those down the road denials and timely filing issues that some organizations struggle with. Debt service coverage ratio measures how many times your income available for debt service over your debt service requirements. 8.7 down to about 7 in 2025. Very strong. The banks require a 1.25 time debt service coverage ratio. So that's a strong ratio for the organization. And then debt to cap, it's a leverage ratio, trying to measure kind of your long-term debt over your long-term debt plus total net assets. You can see the bump up this year. Again, that's related to the MOB project and the associated debt. So you're at about 29% at the tail end of that project, up from 9% in 2024. But still, when we look at the Minnesota critical access hospitals, still lower than that measurement. And it's healthcare is a very capital intensive industry. So we see in many cases upwards of 40, 50% in some cases, and you're at about 30% at the end of 2025. You'll add maybe a little bit more debt here in fiscal 2026, but as you continue to pay that down, you'll see that number come back down in future periods. And then last but not least, from a ratio perspective, average age of plant, this takes your accumulated amortization over your depreciation expense to approximate how old the facility is on average. With minimal capital investment, we'd expect to see that go up by 1 year. So you can see where you were at in 2023 at 12.2 years, and over the last 2 years, you've gone up roughly 1 year. You might say, well, in the midst of a huge construction project, how could it go up by 1 every year? Well, it's because that construction project isn't capitalized yet. So once that gets capitalized in fiscal 2026, that depreciation expense will come onto the books and it will increase your depreciation expense. Then you'll end up seeing this number of 14.4 actually go down next year with the capitalization of the MOB, because again, that average age of that facility is 0 years old. So it'll drive down your overall average age to represent the investment you made in the facility over the last couple of years. I'll pause there. Any questions on the ratios? I think at a high level, and I don't know, in the news, it's been tough sledding from a hospital perspective, especially rural healthcare across the country the last number of years. You've done a really nice job, or the hospital's done a really nice job kind of being able to grow revenue and maintain consistent levels of expenses, equitable to the revenue growth or a little less to maintain positive operating margin. So overall, from our perspective, given the headwinds that healthcare has faced and many other industries with wages, wage pressures, et cetera, to be able to accomplish what you've accomplished over the last couple of years in the midst of those challenges, I think is very impressive from a financial perspective. So with that, any questions on the financial ratios or anything else that I can provide some clarity on? All right, Steve, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I don't see any, but.
Okay, perfect. So if you don't mind, Steve, we're going to flip through. We included some industry stuff, but we're going to flip through these quickly, and I'm going to get you all the way to slide in the appendix 41. So I'm going to run through the required communications, then I can pause at the end for any other questions you might have. So as a reminder, when we are engaged to express an opinion on the financial statements as a third party, that's really what we're expressing. We're engaged to express an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements in a conformity with GAAP. It's also performed under governmental auditing standards. Our opinion is unmodified, which is a clean audit opinion. That's really what you're looking for when you engaged a third party to perform a financial statement audit. We perform the audit to obtain reasonable, non-absolute assurance the financial statements are free from material misstatements. So although we don't think there are anything within the financials that are materially misstated, there could be, especially if it's related to fraud or other misrepresentations of the numbers. We evaluate internal control over the financial reporting process, and we utilize a risk-based audit approach. I'll hit on that on the next slide. From a timing perspective, I mentioned kind of our timing mid-June, wrapping up mid-August. Everything went well from our perspective. Flipping forward to the next slide. Management is responsible for the accounting policies, which are outlined in Note 1 to the financial statements. No significant changes. GASB 101 compensated absences was adopted in 2025. We restated 2024. It gets restated back to the beginning period presented in the financials. Really wasn't a material adoption. I think it was about $115,000 in total. So that is just pulling any of your compensated absences that are not on the statement of financial position onto the balance sheet, so that moving forward, those are represented as a liability at the end of the year. No unusual transaction occurred. We did talk about your significant estimates a little bit with your evaluation of accounts receivable. As I mentioned, we utilize a risk-based audit approach. So we're spending, in addition to our normal testing procedures, we're spending additional time on your estimates. So accounts receivable, third-party payer settlement estimates, depreciation, useful lives, pension, and OPEB valuation. So we're, in many cases, for accounts receivable, we're performing our own independent estimate. We're looking at what actually was collected. We have the benefit of hindsight in 2026, or fiscal 2026. And then we aggregate that to see, if we if we run that out for a month and a half, 2 months after year end, and come up with our own independent estimate, how does your estimate look? How does the hospital's estimate look in comparison to that? Everything looked good from our perspective. No, we don't see any manipulation of income through changing allowances or other estimates on the books. So we feel good about that. No management bias noted. Uncertainty of those estimates is disclosed within the financial statements. Next slide. There is some required supplemental information. There's the management discussion and analysis that precedes the financial statements. The schedule of employers' share of net pension liability, employers' contributions, and then other post-employment benefit plan. No changes in how that method of preparation has, no changes to the method of preparation. Supplemental information is appropriate and complete in relation to our audit. We received a representation letter last week to finalize the audit. And then again, from our perspectives, no difficulties, significant issues, disagreements, consultations with other independent auditors. The management does a nice job of providing us with thorough and thoughtful responses, getting us the information that we need. There's hundreds of hours that go into the audit, and we're very appreciative of the cooperation back and forth. We're appreciative of the relationship that we have throughout the year. It's just nice to know kind of what's going on with the hospital throughout the year so that we're not surprised when we get to the financial statement audit at the end of the year. So with that, any other questions for me or anything that I could provide some additional clarity to? We talked about the internal control stuff, so I think we're covered there. But happy to answer any other questions you have as it relates to the audit, industry, or anything else that's on your mind.
I had a quick question. It's more informational. You mentioned that hospitals, critical care facilities are highly capitalized. Does it relate to any other field that we might be familiar with that's also highly capitalized?
Yeah, I would say manufacturing is also, a capital-intensive industry, but healthcare has to be one of the. I would say manufacturing and healthcare are probably the two biggest that we work with that really require a lot of capital, in the means of facilities and whatnot. Healthcare, just with the cost of the equipment. In addition, I know there's other industries too, restaurants, for example, too, they're super expensive to equip and whatnot, but the medical equipment, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, we're going through a big construction project now. There's just a lot of costs that they carry with all the regulations and whatnot required for the equipment within it. And then also the facilities, negative air pressure, those types of things that like operating rooms require. It's just staggering to think about, an operating room, the equipment that goes into that, just one little room. And I know you're not working through an OR currently, you did previously, but, or the hospital rather, but it's really one of the high intensive, capital intensive industries, which is why we're seeing a little bit of a shift in some of the care, when we think about long-term care, this is really outside the hospital to maybe, a lot of folks necessarily maybe not going to the long-term care facilities and maybe having some of that care at home, because in some cases it can be a little less costly and then there's not as much bricks and mortar needed in order to kind of carry out those tasks. So it'll be interesting to see where healthcare goes over the next 15 to 20 years. Certainly, you're still going to need the facilities, and it's nice to make investments in those, but I could see where the care happens in some cases shifting in the coming years because of the cost of the buildings and equipment and whatnot. Good question. Other questions? All right. Well, my contact information's up. Certainly, if anything comes up, feel free to contact me at any time. Otherwise, thanks again for the time this evening, and I hope you have a good rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Ryan.
See ya.
All right, anything for me? I was gonna say, call Ryan. No.
No, I appreciate the professionalism and the very clear as it can be, explanations of the ratios and all that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Ryan does a nice job, and it's fun for us to close out a year too, right? And just kind of start fresh, so to speak. So it's nice to put this behind us, and we're already finished our 4th month of our current fiscal year. So things are moving right ahead, and we're in a good financial position, and operations are going well. We actually had projected a budgeting loss really through the first quarter, a little bit more of the year, mainly related to the building project. But we've done very well. We, for the most part, have met budget. We had a really good month of August, and so we're hoping we can just keep things moving forward. The biggest point that Ryan made that always sticks with me, and it's something that we as a community chose to do too, is we really need the growth. It used to be when critical access hospitals came into existence, the sole purpose was to keep healthcare in rural communities, and that worked for a long time. But now you actually have to have the growth to continue to sustain your business. And we're continuing to see area hospitals close. A couple years ago, of course, Springfield, Albert Lee, and Austin, those struggles down there. So as long as we could provide those services that the community wants and needs, we're going to do pretty well. So.
With your, I think you guys are doing a great job with what you guys got going on out there, and from what you've been through and building and all that stuff. Any news on the 4th or the 3rd floor?
No, we have a lot of people that are interested in internally, have great ideas. One of the things that has come up, and we're really looking at other stuff, right? We have some satellite clinics, and we're onboarding specialty providers. That's the focus. But one area we see a lot of activity is in our therapy department, and they're getting close to outgrowing that space. So a portion of 3rd floor maybe potentially would be ideal for that. Just on the rough surface, what I like about it is where the therapy space is right now. That's very convenient space for something else. So, but nothing specific. Fantastic.
I'd just like to say thank you to John and, go back and thank your staff. I think it kind of came through with the auditors saying, that you guys run a tight ship. I think, when the auditors come in, they rely on you guys providing the information, and it sounds like you guys have a well-oiled ship of having your information put together for them, so it's very easy for them to come in and get the information. Like when we had our auditors come through, and I think our staff did a really good job of having information together, so it makes it easier for when the auditors do come in. So it sounds like you guys have the same thing. And I appreciate that you guys make it easy for them to come in and do that. It seems like year after year, every auditor that has come in, that's, seems like what it is. So you guys do a very good job. So please let your staff know too, because that's a reflection of you and how you manage your staff as well. I think that they do a good job of doing their book work and their work, and that reflects well when the auditors come in and say that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I was going to make one last comment myself. Obviously, having a clean audit doesn't just make us happy and wonderful experience, but it also builds trust too in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so that consistency is really important, and I thank you.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah, I just will reiterate that. Thank you. I'm as impressed tonight as I was last Monday when we got this. But it really
gets better every time,
yeah,
doesn't it?
it really does. It does say something to hear them say how easy it is to work with you guys. So, job well done to you and everyone, and thank you for being here.
Very good. I'll share that. Thank you all.
Thank you. Oh, we need a motion to accept the audit, if someone
I'll
would
make a motion to accept the audit for Windom Area Hospital.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Scott, second by Jason. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you, John. All right. Next up is the ordinance number 202, second series, amending the zoning designation of 3 parcels. There will be 2 actions here, a motion for the second reading and a motion for the title and summary. And Matt is not with us tonight, so I'm gonna hand this over to Steve to give us the rundown.
Yep, so Matt had another event this evening, so he asked me to just go over it. At the last council meeting, he presented 3 parcels to rezone, so it's amending the zoning map. One parcel is at 1755 First Avenue. That's the Bob and Bonnie Messer property. It would be rezoned from industrial to highway business. And then there were 2 other properties, one at 174 12th Street and 164 12th Street. That's owned by Jeffrey Wright and Rachel Bjorklund. Those properties would be R2 residential. They are homes. They're currently in a industrial zone, and the Planning and Zoning Commission felt it was more appropriate to have those homes in a residential zone. Hence the city-initiated rezoning on those parcels. There was no comments, no objections. It's been received, and so the request is that the council approves the second reading of ordinance 202 second series to amend the zoning map for those 3 parcels. And as the mayor mentioned, then there'd be a second action accepting the title and summary, which is for publication. We would publish the title and summary in the newspaper versus the entire ordinance itself. So just a cost-saving measure there.
I'll make a motion to accept the second reading for ordinance number 202 second series, amending the zoning designation of those 3 parcels.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Jason, second by Dennis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And next, we are looking for a motion accepting the title and summary. If anyone would care to start that?
I'll make a motion accepting the title and summary for the ordinance number 202 second series, amending the zoning designation of the 3 parcels.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Jason, second by Scott. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Moving on, we next up have the discussion, Windom Business Valuation Consultant. We have in our packet here, the action would be to engage a business valuation firm to appraise Windom Net. We got some, well, maybe I'll just pass this to you right now, Steve, if you'd like to explain this to us. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So at the last council meeting, there was discussion about, any potential discussion on Windom Net and the possible sale of that utility. The discussion at council was to go ahead and look for a business appraisal firm that could do an adjustment or an evaluation or an appraisal of Windom Net. I did solicit some names from our auditors. Also, I got a name from Jeff Dana, who is our Windom Net manager. I did call 4 firms that were recommended. 2 of them, one of them referred me back to Olson Thielen, who are the auditors, who helped Windom Net get set up, but Olson Thielen is representing Federated, so that was not a firm that they had the capacity to do it. Another firm did call me back. They said they do business evaluations, but telecom is a fairly technical field. It's kind of a niche, and so they said they would prefer not to do it. They asked me the other names of the other 2 firms, and they said they've heard of them and said they could do the job. So, so the 2 firms that I have in your packet is CG Consulting. We have used them. It's Doug Dawson. We have used them in the past for some consulting work from the Windom Net utility a number of years ago. And then the other auditor, or the other firm was recommended, the auditor is Apex Financial Services. I did talk with that gentleman. He does all types of business, and he has done telecom before. The individual that is the principal there in Apex is also a former elected city official, so he maybe understand a little bit more of what you're sitting in your chairs. But I think either one of the two firms could do this evaluation if the council so chooses. I don't know if you're able to make a decision with the information in the packet tonight. If you are, that's great. One idea I had is maybe if you wanted to, if council decides to move ahead with this, is to maybe appoint an ad hoc committee, maybe the mayor, one of the telecom liaisons from the council, the chair of the telecom commission, and probably myself, to sit in, be a small group and do phone interviews or Zoom interviews with the two firms, and then we could either make the decision or make a recommendation back to the council. Maybe is a good way to get that Q&A going and also keep the process moving if that's your preference. So those are the kind of the ideas that I've added, the options, I guess, that exist tonight. And if you have other questions about the possible valuation firms, please ask and I'll answer what I can.
I like the idea of the ad hoc committee bringing a recommendation after we've met.
I like it so much, I'll make a motion to elect the ad hoc committee of the people chosen that we have decided.
So you would be okay with mayor and then one of the council liaisons, Dirk Abraham, chair of the telecom commission, and then I would staff it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's my motion.
All right, and in that motion, are they to bring just so it's clear, are they to make a recommendation back to the city council? Or are you going to give them authorization to engage one of the firms, maybe up to $10,000 or something? I guess that's part of the discussion maybe you should have before you had a formal motion.
I guess I would be comfortable enough with, I'm not making a motion, but I'm just to be comfortable enough to let the guys decide and then come back to us what their decision is, or,
What about the ceiling of 10 grand?
yeah.
No, I don't, there's not a conflict. I mean, there's not too many people to where we'd have a quorum because the mayor is a non-voting member.
Right.
But I think you can both do it if you so choose.
you'd
but
like to be on it
But I
too,
know you
right?
guys have, busy lives too, so I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna volunteer everyone.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'd like to too, so.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I guess my 2 cents is, I'd feel comfortable with, the ad hoc committee. I'd feel comfortable with up to the 10,000 and let them, go ahead with it. I don't think it has to come back to us if we have that limit of up to 10,000 and let them, they're on that committee. I feel comfortable with them making that decision.
I'll amend my motion to that right there, to have the ad hoc committee decide up to $10,000 and have Jason and Dennis on the, and Steve and Dirk on the committee if they chose to.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And I anticipate too that the ad hoc committee, if they have questions or aren't comfortable with it, then they would not make that decision to bring something back to you. So there's always that option as well, so.
All right, the motion has been made and second that we will form an ad hoc committee to discuss with these two firms, choose one, and, well, with the option to choose one up to $10,000 to go with this business valuation for Windom Net. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. This is just try to keep the process moving forward just because your meetings are spaced out, especially come September. there's 2 meetings early in the first half of the month, and then there's a big gap until the October meeting, so.
I think this is a good way to get through this. Yep. Next up, Community Center Roof Replacement Bid Award. And
Okay.
Tim is not with
Yep,
us, so
Tim,
you'll-
yep, Tim also had somewhere else he needed to be today, this afternoon. So the community center this spring, we had a storm damage to the large roof over the main part of the gym. And, we had our insurance, folks come and take a look at it. And they, had their engineer looked at it and said, yep, it is a, insurance claim eligible, which was good news for us. And then the League of Minnesota Insurance Trust asked us to go out and solicit bids for the project. They also wanted to see specifications for those bids. And they would also, as part of the claim, they would cover the cost of the engineer doing the bid specs and the specifications. So we engaged SCH. SCH did the roof for us down at the arena, and they've got mechanical engineers on staff. So we engaged SCH to do this project for the community center. That was approved by the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. And so they drew up the specs. We put the bids out. And as you can see, we got quite a list of bids. We got 10 bids on the project. The bids range from $110,000 to $265,000, which is a fairly significant range. We believe a lot of the range in there was due to how they were going to handle the HVAC units on the roof. Some of them were going to rent a crane, have it on site for the duration of the project to lift the AC units off, set them on the ground, do the project, and then put them back on. The crane and crane time is very expensive. Where the others, I think, we're planning on getting, and which was approved by the engineers, but loosening, deconnecting the HVAC unit, sliding it to the side, fixing that portion of the roof, and then move it back without having to crane them up and down. So we feel that was probably a lot of it. So the engineer, SEH, and the League of Minnesota Cities have all reviewed these bids and are in concurrence that the lowest responsible bidder is GOG Sheet Metal Incorporated for the $110,000. That is the base bid, and as I noted, that's for the main roof over the gym. There's a smaller, lower roof that's also that kind of Tectra product that we put on about 4 or 5 years ago. I talked to Tim today, there's no leak, we've not had any concern with it. It's about between 4 and 5 years old. It's got a 15-year life expectancy. That's the alternate on this, because that was not damaged during the storm. So the league, we bid it as an alternate. So if we, the city, want to take on that 800 square feet and replace that portion of roof along with the rest of it, we would be on the hook for the alternate. The commission, I don't believe the commission made a recommendation one way or the other from the community center commission, because it's kind of a judgment call on your part. The roof isn't that old, but yeah, we had some problems with the large roof on the membrane separating. So it's kind of a judgment call. So that will be up to you on what you want to do on the alternate portion of this.
So originally, both the larger portion up and the smaller portion were done by the same company? Okay, so. And what's the end of life on the smaller portion, the 800 square feet?
It had a 15-year
15 years.
15-year life, and we're probably 4 years into it, more or less.
I think we should save the money and not do it.
That's what we discussed too, that there's significant life left in that roof that we didn't feel that was needed to be touched, because you know as well as I do, is if you got something that's working, leave it alone. And that, the other people are working on the roof, that they know the portion that's leaking, so that's what we came up with, and we look forward to your guys' recommendation.
Yeah, it's about 800 square feet is that lower roof.
So We need to introduce a resolution to it.
So staff is requesting that you approve accepting the lowest bid from GOG Sheet Metal for at least the base bid amount of $110,000. That will be for the insurance claim portion of this project. Once we approve that, that will go back to the contractor and we'll get rolling. We're looking at an October timeframe to get this done because we're trying to schedule us between community center events and also play the weather a little. Because in July, you don't want the air conditioners turned off, and November, you don't necessarily want the heaters turned off. So we're trying to play a little bit of game with the weather. So we kind of had a construction window of a couple of weeks in October where the contractors could come and do the work. But so we're requesting at a minimum action on a resolution for the base bid on this project.
I'll make a resolution to accept the base bid for the Windom Community Center roof project.
I'll second.
The resolution has been introduced by Scott and second by Jim. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
If by chance we had hail between now and whenever, and that smaller roof got damaged, it's still under warranty and it'll still be.
It would, I mean, yes, there is still warranty on it, but there also is an could be an insurance claim on it. This doesn't negate another claim on things, but it is a separate claim. Yep.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Quaid,
Yes.
Esplin,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Benson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the pool discussion. We have a letter in our packet from Burbach Aquatics. Do you want to take this too for us, Steve?
Sure. I think you pretty much summarized it, but the council meeting we had on the last council meeting, there was discussion on whether or not we appeal the FEMA decision on the determination for the pool. Just as a recap, FEMA had estimated that we would be eligible for some reimbursement for equipment and other furnishings of about $285,000. They denied our claim for the pool shell or vessel itself of $2.1 million. As I mentioned at the prior meeting, I did reach out to city's engineers and Burbach Aquatics. Our civil engineers basically reiterated what's been in our feasibility studies, those kind of things, that the pool was at the end of its economic life, and really nothing in the FEMA determination was kind of debatable. They were using the feasibility studies that we had conducted and the soil borings or the core samples that we had done previously. Burbach Aquatics thought we could maybe appeal based on the valuation for salvage. As you may remember, FEMA asked for a third-party valuation of the pool a number of months ago, which is why we engaged Burbach Aquatics to do that valuation. They did that valuation and came back in their valuation that there was a $500,000 salvage value to the pool. Now that would be inclusive of the furnishings, those kind of things that they already gave us $280,000 on. So the difference between the salvage and that is about $215,000 is the difference between that and salvage value. The other option that I kind of had mentioned at the last meeting, in that valuation study that Burbach had done, they had estimated about roughly $250,000 for demolition, should that be the direction that the city needed to go with the pool. And so I guess a couple of options for the council's consideration. If you can choose not to appeal the FEMA decision, take the $285,000 and we move forward on something else. We could engage Burbach. Burbach wants another $3,500 to fight the do the appeal based on the salvage value of the pool. Or thirdly, I guess if the city chose to appeal it, we could write an appeal ourselves and go for or agree to the equipment furnishings settlement portion of it, and then request that $250,000 for potential demolition. Of course, we would only get that if we, demolish the pool and move forward that way. But we could probably write that letter without having to engage Burbach. So those are kind of the three options that I see for you all this evening. And if I can answer questions for anybody, I certainly can do my best.
Mr. Trammell can pretty much handle the legal end of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, if we would need to engage legal staff, we would do that, but this would be it wouldn't be a formal legal appeal at this, well, it'll be a legal appeal, but it wouldn't be, based on case law or anything like that. It's more, but he would review, obviously, our letter that we sent, yes.
I guess I would trust our legal staff here, Steve, to write a letter towards the benefit of Windom, because we keep throwing much more money at that pool than what we do get back is keep dwindling down and down and down, and next thing you know, we got a bucket with nothing in it. So my personal feeling would be have the city of Windom write a letter, and besides it's the equipment stuff, see if we can get any more extra money out of it that way, and kind of write that one off from there. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Scott, second by Jim, to appeal it ourselves.
Yes, have.
And that was for the, accepting the furnishings settlement and then request demolition funding, correct?
Yes.
Discussion on this?
Yeah, the 245,000 for demolition, obviously we have to use that and demo it. How much would it cost us to demo and fill it in, push everything in the pool and cover it over?
We haven't got a contractor to do that estimate yet. We would also probably need to engage the state or someone else to know what we could fill in a floodplain or not, or whether it would all need to be excavated and taken out. I believe the estimate that Burbach did on that was digging out what was underground and hauling it off site, which is why the cost was so high. Staff, we've talked about it internally, we believe it can be done for considerably less dollars if things are able to be buried on site. We could probably do some of that work ourselves, but also then that would, FEMA's only going to reimburse what the actual costs are.
So if it does cost us less, we return some of that 245 or whatever that is?
It'd probably be on a reimbursement basis. That's how the other
gotcha,
mitigation money we had. We did some rip-rap around some culverts, things like that. We did that work, documented the work was completed, then submit the pay request to them after the fact. So I'm anticipating this would work very similarly.
Is there further discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Next up, thank you, Steve, for explaining that. Personnel hiring recommendation. We've got John Nelson with Riverbend Liquor here again. Thank you, John. Hey now.
John Nelson, liquor store manager. So on August 22nd, Kathy Morphew submitted her retirement notice. So her last day will be this Friday, September 5th. With that, I went back into our applications from June, in which we had multiple applications. After receiving her notice, I reached out to one of the previous applicants to see if she was still interested in a job with us. And she expressed interest in it, so we had a second interview with her. And so it is my recommendation to hire Gwen Meyerink as a non-union part-time liquor store clerk at a wage of $13 an hour, to help with this transition forward.
I'll make a motion to hire the part-time non-union part clerk for Gwen.
I'll second.
Motion made by Scott, second by Jenny. Is there any discussion?
How long does she work for us, Ms. Morphew?
Kathy has been with us for about 3 years as part-time, and then it was last April, so a year and a half as a full-time employee.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, John. Does anyone have anything for new business? All right, does anyone have anything for old business? Well, let's move into council comments then. Does someone volunteer to start?
Hi,
Scott.
happy birthday, Janny.
Oh. Thanks, Jim. You're just right, Johnny on the spot tonight. Scott.
Okay, just want to say, with everything that's going on in Windom right now, just be patient. Everything's got to work through the channels, and then with the school starting up, kids out moving around, school buses out moving it in the early morning hours. Just everybody keep an eye out for children darting out, heading to school, because it's still going to be kind of nice out, so kids are going to want to walk and they're going to want to ride their bikes. And with everybody getting a brand new routine, just kind of take care of each other. And this is a touchy subject, but I just want to add to our little city that with the mental health situation we have in the world going on today, we need to watch out for each other and talk to each other. And if you see somebody that's struggling a little bit, please say something. If you're uncomfortable with saying something, go find somebody else that would say something, because we need to take care of each other. Because right now with what's going on, just in our country alone, with the children at the schools and stuff like that, it tears a person apart. And I've been here for a long time with the gray hair, but it just seems to be getting more and more, I can't say acceptable, but it's just more and more out there. And it's something we gotta stop, something we gotta get a handle on. We gotta try to help each other out as human beings, because it's hurting our young kids now. And without the young kids, they don't grow into old people. And we need old people to make this world go around. So please, please take care of each other and just try to be decent human beings. And if it's something you're not comfortable doing, ask somebody else to do it, or just talk to a person, see how they're handling the world or things going around them. And I do want to say, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jenny. Happy birthday to you. Thank you.
Very nice singing. That was awesome. Yeah. Does anyone else down here have council comments? Jason?
Nope, but our summer is coming to an end for some of us, and I know some of us just kept on working all the way through, but the seasons change, and we're just going to enjoy this nice, cooler weather.
Do you have council comments, Jenny?
Jeez, now like I'm all, normally I'm like full of things to say, but you actually, yeah.
Got her speechless.
Yeah, that's very hard to do. Thank you, everyone. So Friday is officially when I actually turn really, really old. So my council comment is Thursday night, just wanted to give a shout out. So if people want to come and help me celebrate, I'm going to be out celebrating Thursday night for my pre-turning old Eve out at KDOM because they're having their end of summer barbecue celebration at KDOM from 5 to 6:30 for their cookout. And they're having music and food, and I heard they're bringing in the National Guard, and I didn't know if it's just because I'm getting old that they thought they needed the National Guard there because I was planning on coming and attending, and who knows how crazy it's gonna get because I'm getting old. So I don't know, rumor has it that the National Guard might be at KDOM Thursday night, so come on out and see me and celebrate at KDOM Thursday night. It should be fun.
Well, I'm also not going to sing, but I hope you have an awesome birthday on Friday. And Jenny brought her own birthday treats, and so that was awesome. Have an awesome birthday. And wonderful singing, Scott, that you're up next time there's anybody has a birthday, we'll get some a cappella singing from Scott here. That was beautiful.
No Johnny Cash, but I'll get it out there.
I just was going to also say it's back to school week. Wish a safe year for all the kids. Watch out. I mean, the kids were traveling all summer too, but now they're going to be on a schedule and lots of kids here and there and bus stops in different spots, and they have to do a lot of walking, so keep an eye out for them. The carrying out of the liquor, I know we touched on this, but it really was fun. It was very interesting to see where the customers were from. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I did ask most people if they were from town, and I think it was like, I bet a 50-50 was a fair estimate to say that 50% of the customers that come to your store are not from town, so that's really neat too. But it just was cool. I think the customers liked it. I know the liquor store made somebody Snapchat. They asked for selfies in front of the sign, and they were actually from Worthington going to the Twin Cities, had never been there, and stopped in Windom. So I was just, thanks for asking. It was fun. If any of you guys want to do that, I would recommend it. Wear tennis shoes. I wore sandals. Not a good move. I think that was all I had. Steve, did you have anything? Nothing? I guess I do also want to say that absent of the department heads to explain their items, I very much appreciate you doing it because no one knows better than them but you. So thank you for saving me from explaining that. I think you just do it better and faster. So thank you. If no one has anything else, we will adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent.